Hello, horror addicts. I'm Kristin Battestella, aka Kbatz, and yes, it is December, but we are going to carve a pumpkin. I am going to save our insides of this pumpkin for some baking. So everybody does a lot of holiday baking, and nowadays everything is pumpkin spice galore, but we forget the fact that sometimes we just need to get the pumpkin out of the pumpkin. So I have a bevy of materials here. I don't use the plastic kind of carving things. There's little packages, you can find them easy in a dollar store type things, because they're more about completely scraping and cleaning the pumpkin for a jack-o'-lantern kind of design. But I have my colander and my bowl here where I want to sort the seeds and the mush, and I've got some trash bags here where any of the excess I'm just going to chop up and toss outside for some of the deer, probably. Well, I hope it'll be for the deer, but I suspect the raccoon will probably get a hold of it before the deer. But all right, this guy needs to be cut. He's pretty big, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get all of this as usable pumpkin. That's the butter serrated one. There we go. Oh. I haven't done this in about 10 years. So if I end up kind of talkative while I'm fighting with this pumpkin, well, that's just your gain. I used to do this all the time when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, you couldn't go to the store and buy canned pumpkin. Or I guess you could, but it was probably sacrilege. As some of you may or may not know, I grew up on a 10-acre farm. So I really didn't understand about buying vegetables up until I got married. And I had a couple aunts. They were my great aunts, my father's aunts, my grandmother's sisters, who they made pumpkin pie, pumpkin bread, pumpkin muffins, and the thing that I hated the most was this pumpkin soup, where they would put the pumpkin soup back inside the hollowed out pumpkin, and I just thought that was so gross and so revolting. I don't know why. Nowadays everything is pumpkin spice, but pumpkin spice is actually just the spices, your cinnamon, your ginger, nutmeg, the seasonings of a pumpkin pie. Pumpkin spice actually has no pumpkin in it. So it's a whole industry based upon the nostalgia of sort of homemade pumpkin pie. The scent without the flavor. So, when my nieces were little, I used to carve pumpkins with them. And when I first met my husband, I said, okay, let's carve a jack-o'-lantern. And my husband just looked at this and said, this is revolting. This is disgusting. I said, do you like pumpkin pie? He said, yes. And I said, well, how the hell do you think you got pumpkin pie? Oh, there we go. All right. Ooh. Yeah, I definitely do not think there's going to be enough mush in here. Can you see that? Of course, my nieces loved getting their hands dirty with this, so I do not think there's going to be enough in here. Now, I'm not making a pumpkin pie. Sorry, folks. My father called me the other day and said he had some pie crust. How do you make pumpkin pie? I said, I don't the hell know. Look in a recipe book. And I like to make mini muffins because that's something that's kind of an easy serving. I like the mini muffins, and I usually use just the canned pumpkin and the box mix, which if I don't get enough pumpkin mush for this, I'm going to use some canned pumpkin, of course. I don't think I'm going to have a choice. I thought you could get enough pumpkin out of a giant pumpkin, but I guess not. Alright, there's still some seeds in here. We spoke last year. Mary and Rich, our horroraddicts.net hostess, and we did a little pumpkin podcast special. Our Horror Addict season ends right before Halloween. And so we did a little special discussing about, what happens with the rest of fall. There's so much Christmas creep, and, there's sort of, obviously politics around Thanksgiving, and Halloween becomes, all of October. So the rest of just kind of autumn and fall kind of festive gets really lost in the shuffle. Ugh. So we did a little podcast discussing all the things that Ems can and cannot eat, and different recipes and old-fashioned things. This year, the HeartAddicts.net holiday special podcast was some ghost stories. I'll put all the links where you can like and follow and subscribe here with the video. Ugh. Well, I've got plenty of pumpkin seeds to plant pumpkins next year, that's for sure. The Ghost Stories podcast was requested from one of our listeners. And so we've got some of our great horror addicts folks doing some readings. And I said, I can read a part from A Christmas Carol. Because this year in 2020, of course, obviously we had to submit the audio early. And it was before the election. And I was trying to piece together a little excerpt to read. And I just kept getting really emotional and really upset. And just 2020 kind of overwhelming everything. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just let it sit. I'll let it wait a little bit. And then I missed the deadline to submit my part to the podcast. And I was like, oh no. So I messaged Ems. I think I've driven her up the wall this season with all my different frightening flicks and all my Kbatz crafts and edits and videos and technical issues. And I said, are you sure? Do you still need that? Is everything all right? And she said, oh no, it's great. We've got all our original stories. I said, oh great, good. And some of you may also know, if you follow my non-horror blog, I think therefore I review, I've also been doing some classic film work at In Session Film, who my editor there, Ryan, I've also driven crazy on technical issues and asking 101 questions. And I was being sarcastic when they said, oh, what kind of holiday content are you going to have? And I was sarcastic and said, yeah, what if somebody wrote an essay comparing, like, all the adaptations of A Christmas Carol ever? And, like, he sent me a message seriously, like, okay, would you do that, please? And then I was like, okay. And then after I watched about 3 or 4 old The Christmas Carol movies that, again, I'd seen and known by heart, and even Muppets and Mickey, there were times where I was getting, again, so emotional. And I'd say to my husband, no, tonight I have to watch the Patrick Stewart version, and, I'll do my pumpkin tomorrow. I have to watch George C. Scott's. And he's like, you don't have to watch these Christmas carols. He's like, you're just doing it to torture yourself. And, late at night when I'm sobbing, watching A Christmas Carol, ignorance and want, are there no workhouses, are there no prisons? I'm sobbing, thinking, why did I do this to myself? Why did I do this to myself? I could be sticking my hands inside of a mushy pumpkin today. If you're looking for some holiday horror stories, we have it at horroraddicts.net. If you're looking for A Christmas Carol, I have blurbs of that on the In Session Film. So, I don't know when you'll see this video, specifically, because it is December, and we are having Freaky Foodie Month at Horror Addicts. This is probably the type of pumpkin. They all have different kind of hybrid kind of names. Jack-o'-lanterns, like tomatoes have, Big Boy or Early Bird or something. So this is actually probably a pumpkin, the kind that you buy in a store, because I think I bought this in November. This is probably the kind that is expected to be carved for a jack-o'-lantern, because there is not a lot of pumpkin puree mush in here. I knew it would be this stringy, gross kind of slop that I was going to have to do like a puree in the blender to get it sort of soft and smooth. Ew. It smells pretty good, actually. But as you can see, it's just a lot of stringy growth. Oh, there's still a few more seeds in there. But I definitely have a lot of seeds for next year. Kind of looks like a brain. I guess this does fit Freaky Foodies Month, doesn't it? Ugh, look at that. That's all mush. Yes, I'm using like a spaghetti scoop. It's okay. Yeah, that is definitely not enough to bake with. Okay. Definitely not enough with which to bake. Okay, let's speak proper grammar here, people. Can't call ourselves writers if we end a sentence with a preposition. Oh. Okay. I am working in my basement workshop, holiday shop here with my Halloween tablecloth here, and I had to have the camera angled this way because I still have a few Christmas presents that need to be wrapped, some homemade Christmas things that need to be finished. There's nothing wrong with a homemade holiday. I think so many people get caught up in Christmas. I mean, even now, everybody's still rushing and going to shops. I thought, am I prepared? I've got a tablecloth and a plain shirt, and all of a sudden I thought, well, gee, okay, I'm ready to carve a pumpkin. It takes more for me to trick myself out to go to the grocery store. I don't understand people's aversions to masks. I mean, you wear earmuffs and a hat and a glove when it's cold to protect yourself from the elements, so why wouldn't you want to wear something on your face to protect yourself from germs? I don't think this virus had to be as bad as this. And I think a lot of foolishness acerbated it. And, you know, there's no hyperbole to say people are dead because of it. So, Christmas is already, I mean, Christmas dominates the season. You know, there are other things happening at Christmas. As I'm doing this, it is actually Hanukkah. So, happy Hanukkah, everybody. But, you know, December, I mean, there is just, you know, of course there's seasonal disorder. You know, the sun changes, the weather changes, that affects people. You know, and everything is not holly jolly for everybody during regular Decembers. So this year I think it's important to remember it's tough for a lot of people. As I sort of scrape some of the sides of the pumpkin, that kind of shaves a little bit off and adds to my mush. I think I have the canned pumpkin, which I've discussed before on the podcast. There's that hack where you can use canned pumpkin and just plain box cake mix. And that's all the ingredients you need to bake with that. And that is something that you could easily just put in muffin tins. You don't need to add eggs, water, oil, any other kind of moist ingredient if you have just the straight canned pumpkin, because there's actually just enough moisture, there's enough slop in the pumpkin. You do need to add, I mean, you can use spice cake mix, but you do need to add sort of season to your taste, your cinnamon and nutmeg. I don't use ginger, I love nutmeg. You do need to add your season because otherwise it's plain pumpkin. which I think a lot of people, because we're so accustomed to pumpkin spice flavors, I feel like maybe people might be disappointed at plain pumpkin. Doesn't taste that bad, actually. All right. And Mary and Rich asked me what my favorite freaky food was for Freaky Food Month. All right, how about raw pumpkin? Scraping the sides here, I'm getting quite a bit. Again, I think a baking specific pumpkin would have given me more workable mush, but if I can blend this to a nice consistency, it could work. I'm not as elaborate as these cooking shows. I'm sorry. Anybody could cook, okay, if they've got like that perfectly clean kitchen with like the gourmet ovens and all the ingredients are already perfectly divided in beautiful clear bowls. Like, yeah, okay, we could do that, sure. But when you're like at home, it's like, well, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh, I spilled some of this more in there. Oh well. Although actually I do have my little measuring cup over here. Alright, baking with Kbatz. This is kind of... Did we expect this to be anything else? Okay, baking with Kbatz. Okay. Like, terrible camera shots, ridiculous setup, messy pumpkin. Alright, this is what we do, horror addicts. I set up my camera shot for you to see the pumpkin, not to see me. And all I'm doing is making y'all jealous by stuffing my face with nasty pumpkin. It's still pretty good. And again, obviously, getting dirty with the knives here is not something for the kids. Yeah. Okay. He's a little sassy, isn't he? Little pumpkin. Looks kind of like me. This is my pumpkin mush. Ugh. So, I don't know. It seems weird that there's a little stringy thing. Yes, that string is pumpkin. I still feel like this might not be enough, but I feel like it's all I'm going to get. Ugh. Yuck. Okay. Yuck. Because my pumpkin is pretty hollowed out. There's still a few little stringy bits. But again, I'm not carving this smooth for it to last, and I have plenty of seeds. So this guy, though, is going to get completely cut up into little pieces, like my little bite-sized pieces, so I can toss it out to the animals. Well, okay, there's my 2 cups that I need, and I've got a lot left over. So once we put it in the blender, that should be enough. All right. Well, that's not a good sign. Did I kill my blender? Gunky pumpkin string stuck on the blender blades. Alright, who knew pumpkin was dangerous? I have my 2 cups, 16 ounces of pumpkin for my box cake mix, and I actually have another 2 cups left over, which was unexpected batch for another day. So now I'm taking my plain box mix, my oven is preheating, and we are going to blend these together, and I have my cinnamon and my nutmeg. And I have a dirty kitchen, and it's going to get dirtier in a minute. Oh, that smells good. Ooh, don't wear black when you bake. With the cinnamon here. You never have enough. And this is to taste, of course, as you're licking the spoon. And these, of course, you can be found anywhere cheap, affordably. There's some more of that stringy pumpkin. Oh. This actually smells really good. I just want to get rid of this string pumpkin. Apparently it was the problem. Ugh. Ugh. My husband came downstairs and was like, oh my gosh, are you doing a cooking show? You're doing a cooking show now? I mean, yeah, because this is real cooking show aesthetics. I don't think so. Oh, okay. All right, so it certainly has cake mix consistency. I need to mix it a little better, some more. But I just wanted to show you. I can definitely taste the pumpkin in it. Maybe it just feels a little thicker on the pumpkin. Then I guess the canned puree is much more processed and smooth. So I want to give this another stir. Then I think I will grease my muffin tins. good. It's really good. um, I thought that it would taste kind of chunky or stringy because of the real pumpkin, but I think again those spices, the cinnamon and nutmeg, really kind of accentuate it. I think if someone, was at the buffet and grabbed a bite, um, I don't think that they would know that one came from a messy real pumpkin. I don't think they know that it would be box mix. So, and I don't think you can differentiate from the canned pumpkin. So, I prefer good. So, I still have Christmas baking, real proper baking that I have to do. Um, but I definitely think that just the canned pumpkin and the box pumpkin mix, I think is a great combination that anybody could do some holiday baking. Um, or if you want to get your hands messy with a little pumpkin, that works too. So now you know what to bake for Halloween. Bye. Oh, God. This is very good.